Jessica Dixon. Jessica is one of the directors of our financial aid office or financial services people. She does a terrific job. So she's here today to share with you one of the most important aspects of your experience going through your studies here at the college. Because without the funds, it doesn't happen. So I turn it over to Jessica. Thank you.
Hi, as Nick Fittino said, my name is Jessica Dixon. I'm one of the assistant directors here at SUNY Adirondack. I've been employed here almost 20 years in financial aid. So I've seen a lot of changes in financial aid, and that's why we are asked to come to these classes so that you're well informed on what's going on today regarding financial aid. What we're going to go over, I'm going to show you the agenda. We're going to talk about financial aid by the numbers, and what I mean by that is how many students actually receive financial aid here at SUNY Adirondack. Classes eligible for aid, impact of regular attendance, cost of attendance and financing in college education, and then Mary's going to go over the SUNY Smart Track, the financial literacy piece with you afterwards. Okay, as we say, last year more than 70% of students, I want to say close to 80% of our students received some form of financial aid. And what we mean by that, financial aid can be grant aid, it can be student loans, it can be work study, it can be scholarships, either scholarships received here at SUNY Adirondack or outside scholarships that you may have received from outside organizations through your high school. Students have received over $20 million in some form of financial aid, with the largest programs being our Pell Grant, as you can see, $7.3 million, then TAP at $2.7 million, and unfortunately loans are our higher one. It's at $9.8 million, and these are approximate dollar amounts of what our students received. SUNY Adirondack Foundation awards over $200,000 in scholarships. They can be scholarships that you receive through the financial aid office, or possibly if you were a high school student last year, you may have been nominated and received what's called an Academic Excellence Scholarship or what's called a Hill Scholarship. Academic Excellence Scholarship are for local high schools. The guidance counselors nominate the students. You need to either be the salutatorian or valedictorian. You either need to be in the top 10% of your class, and your high school has to participate. The foundation office has a listing of the high schools that they offer these academic excellence scholarships to. They're generally within the Warren, Washington, and some Saratoga County schools, just so that you're aware. The other scholarships that we have here at SUNY Adirondack, how we award them, is we tell students you complete your FAFSA, your financial aid application. The earlier appliers, then we can look at you for other ECC Foundation scholarships. There's the general foundation scholarship that doesn't require a major or anything. It's just need-based, so you have to be eligible for it based on need. And then there's Glens Falls Arts, Glens Falls Nursing, Robinson Engineering, and Robinson Nursing, to just name a few. Then in the spring term, we have what's called Scholarship Week, where students fill out one application for 70 plus scholarships. I believe we're up to about 76, 77 scholarships. And it's a very simple application. It's on the college website. You download it, you fill it out, and then you bring it right into the SUNY Financial Aid Office, and then we pass it on to a committee to determine the recipients. We emphasize this scholarship because we get very few applications. All you need to do is have 12 credits earned prior to the start of the spring term and have at least a 2.5 GPA. Now, all of the scholarships require need-based, and there are a lot of business scholarships, I will tell you, so I would encourage you to complete that application, because sometimes we have it where we may only have one person on the list that is eligible, so, the committee has to give it to that student, as opposed to we could be giving more scholarships out to more students. We sometimes find that we're awarding some students 2 or 3 scholarships because there's so few students applying for those scholarships. And then we have more than 50% of our SUNY Adirondack graduates do leave with without having to even take out student loans because their grant aid or their scholarships help pay their tuition here at SUNY Adirondack, or you're just fortunate enough that you can pay for your college education on your own. Classes eligible for financial aid is very important. As Nick was talking to you about earlier, you're going to start registering for classes real soon. You want to make sure you're taking classes towards your degree here at SUNY Adirondack. It can't be towards your bachelor's degree, oh, but I know I need this class, so I want to take it here, it's less expensive. You can, if you're taking at least 12 credits towards your SUNY Adirondack degree, but you want to be very careful with that. If you do have questions about whether a class is towards your degree or not, I'd recommend you run a degree audit with an Angel, right? And Banner, yeah, you can run it with a Banner, or if you have access to Angel, you can run your degree audits with either one of those. So it's very important for you as far as the degree audits go. And as I stated, it's called Degree Works. It's within Banner. And repeat classes, as we tell you, can be very tricky. And the reason we tell you it can be very tricky is because, unfortunately, the federal government allows you to repeat one passing class with the benefit of financial aid again. So say you get a C in a class and you want to retake that class, federal aid, which is your Pell Grants, SEOG, and your federal student loans will allow you to repeat that class. New York State, however, the TAP Award and Aid for Part-Time Studies, which are your state grants, do not allow you to repeat a class if you've passed it. The only way New York State does allow you to pass a repeated class is if you're like Business 146 is a good example for all of you business majors. You're required to have a C or better before you can take C or better, right?
Yes.
Okay. C or better to be able to take Business 147, so you're allowed to repeat that class. English 101 is another one that's an easy one to tell you. You need a C or better to take English 102 through 110. Math 108, C or better is required to be able to take the pre-calc classes that are required for your degree. So, just for you to be aware, there are ways around it. If you do decide you want to repeat a class, same thing with taking a class that may not be towards your degree, you can take 12 credits or more towards your SUNY Adirondack degree, and then you can always repeat that class. Impacts of regular attendance. This is very important, and I'm sure they talked about it. The federal government requires students to attend class to earn their financial aid. After the first 3 weeks of the semester, your aid's locked in. What I mean by your aid is locked in is what your enrollment is, unless you get an X grade, which is the new grade. It started last year, or last semester. It's where a professor reports that you stopped attending their class. We're required to have them report your last date of attendance. If that last date of attendance is before the third week of the semester, which was September 29th, so as of September 30th, if you withdrew from a class or if you got an X grade in one class, we are not required to recalculate your aid. If you get X grades in all your classes, or you withdraw and get X grades, a combination of those, we are required to find out what your last date of attendance is, and if it's prior to what is called the 60% mark of the semester, then we are required to recalculate your aid because you're considered a complete withdrawal. So anybody that either chooses to withdraw themselves or gets a combination of those withdrawals and X grades, unfortunately, the feds tell us that we're required to recalculate your aid. If you think you're going to withdraw from a class, typically you go to our advisement center, you'll meet with an advisor. If you're changing your enrollment from, say, full-time to three-quarter time or full-time to half-time, they will tell you to come see financial aid because they want to make sure you know how it's going to impact your financial aid in the future. Satisfactory academic progress is another thing we have to do each semester. New York State requires us to review and make sure that you have completed so many credits each semester to be able to earn your financial aid for the next semester. A first-year student for New York State, you're required to have 6 earned, at least a 1.3 GPA, and then 6 pursued. The difference between earned and pursued is earned grades are D minuses or better. Pursued is if you get a combination of unsatisfactories, F grades, and then regular D minus on up. Those are considered pursued grades. It's if you withdraw or get those X grades, those don't count as pursued or incomplete. Colleges determine your financial aid based on your cost of attendance. Each school has to come up with their cost of attendance. It's not what it costs to come here at SUNY Adirondack. Your cost of attendance, as I stated in the PowerPoint, is direct and indirect costs. The direct costs are your tuition and your fees. The indirect costs are your books, room and board, and yes, everybody has a room and board budget, transportation, and then personal expenses. And these are based on, we determine based on the general costs here in this area to determine room and board and everything. And we have for budgets is we have it based on your enrollment, but we also have off-campus, on-campus, and then those students living with parents. And yes, you students living with parents, we have to have a room and board as well. And like I told you, this is not what it costs to come here. It's to help us determine your financial aid so that we can award you your Pell Grants, your student loans, your TAP, your work study, your scholarships. And we can do what's called special adjustments for double tuition for students out of state. International study trips, if you decide to register for one of those classes, we can adjust your budget based on that international study trip, so you'd want to let us know if you registered. And it allows you to get more student loans. The international study trip does help pay your credits, but to pay for the trip, it would be taking out a student loan, and that's if you don't already use student loans to pay for your tuition and other expenses. And then the feds allow a one-time computer purchase, so we can adjust your budget based on computer budget. Our information technology department tells us what the average cost for a SUNY Adirondack student based on possibly sometimes your major as to what a computer should cost, and we don't go over that. So if for some reason you decide to buy a $2,000 computer and they tell us it's only about $600, that's all we can adjust your budget for, and that's all we can allow you to use your financial aid for to purchase that computer. Different ways that families use to finance their education. Obviously, financial aid is that top one. Payment plans. Every college offers a payment plan now. A payment plan is where they can help you break down your tuition into monthly payments. Typically, it could be 4 months or 5 months, depending upon when you sign up on that payment plan and what that college offers. Federal parent loans. Those are where parents take out student loans on the student's behalf. Typically, if a student's taking out a parent, or a parent's taking out a parent loan, it's more if you're a housing student. You don't generally need a parent loan if you're just attending here at SUNY Adirondack. And I would not encourage you to take out a parent loan because it's more debt. And then savings plans such as the 529 plans, New York State has one of those plans, and there's that Up Promise I'm sure you're all familiar with or have seen ads for. And then sometimes parents will do a home equity loan. I don't typically see that. I want to be honest with you, in the 20 years I've been here, I've probably seen 1 or 2 families that still do the home equity loans. I just don't think that's as common now, that parents will take out a line of credit on their home to help purchase or help fund college. But it does happen. I'm sorry. Obviously, I didn't look at the PowerPoint ahead of time. Okay, and now we're going to discuss the SUNY Smart Track letter. This is a piece that helps with financial literacy. It helps you plan for your college expenses, you know, room and board, books and supplies, helping fund your tuition here at SUNY Adirondack. If you choose not to take out financial aid, they're going to give you other ideas on how to fund that. And, nope.
Just that?
Yeah, just that one. You want me to?
No, that's okay. I'll
Okay.
pull it out on the website. But maybe we'll take some questions now.
Oh, okay.
Think
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, so a lot of information, right? A lot of important information here. It certainly affects everyone. And certainly hear a lot about the burdens that people have with their financial loans, their student loans, and their fees here at college. So let's see what kinds of questions we have for Jessica here. This is our chance to get some answers to something that might have been bothering us. So yeah, we're going to have you use the mic here so that it can record properly on the video. We can pass that down. Thank you.
If we already applied for FAFSA for the fall semester, do we need to completely reapply for the spring semester, or can we just kind of carry it over?
It carries over. When we send you your award letter, we typically award you for both fall and spring. The only time we don't, and that's a good question, is if we have you as graduating in the fall term, is we won't have an award letter on there. We actually have a statement telling students that we see that you're graduating, so we've awarded you as a fall-only student. But yeah, what students will do is each academic year, you reapply for financial aid. What we tell our students is remember when you do your tax returns, that's when you reapply for financial aid.
If we're paying for college with like the GI Bill, is there any point to even apply for financial aid?
Yes,
Or?
because you still can get the Pell Grant, depending upon which chapter you receive, whether you can get the state one, chapter 31, they don't allow, well, you can get it depending upon the percentage of your GI Bill. Like if you receive 100% GI Bill, chapter 31, then you're not eligible for the TAP grant, but you could still get the Pell Grant and the student loans to help with your other expenses. So yes, I would encourage you to complete that, especially if you think you may be eligible for grant aid. And it also helps you with the scholarships here.
So I didn't know if I like understood this correctly, but
Okay.
like the degree works
Mhm.
thing, is that where we can go and look at like what courses we have to
Yes,
take
it
and
is.
stuff?
Yep.
So that's
Yeah.
what that is?
Yep.
And how do you get to it?
You get through it on your banner self-service.
Okay.
You'll log in as, you'll click student, and then under the registration screen, it will tell you that you can, it'll say degree works right there.
Okay.
And if you need help running degree work, stop by the Advisement Testing Center, or feel free to come in our office and we can try and help you. We have to log in as you to show you.
And we have some time at the end of this course where we're going to be working on your spring semester. We encourage everyone to run a degree works after you've registered for classes, because what that program will do is highlight whether or not you're taking classes that are not counting towards your degree, which is fine if you're taking, some classes that will help with your four-year degree or something that will help with your career path. But we want to make sure you're hitting those 12 credits for full-time status under your degree. So you'll be running that this semester. After we register, you'll be running that, and then we'll take a look at it so you'll be familiar with the report. And we've got a new initiative here which we're very, very excited about. We're really thrilled to have the support for administration. They are going to be assigning each of our business students and an advisor. So one of our faculty member will be assigned to you, and you'll continue. This is going to be a new thing. We're making the assignments for the spring. So we may be passing you off. I'll sit down and work with you here for this semester, and then you'll have a student, a teacher, a faculty member from the business division that will be assigned to you as a business major, and you'll follow and sit down with that person each semester going forward. So there'll always be a point person to ask, but we want you to be familiar with that degree works report.
Yeah, and what's nice with running the degree works ahead of time is for the fall term, a lot of times we can catch if you're not taking a class towards your degree, because we do run a lot of degree audits on, for certain majors, for a certain number of credits, because at one point, we can't run degree audits on every student just because we would never be able to get everybody awarded financial aid. So we do run it at certain times. So we do try to let you know ahead of time. If you do find that we send you a letter telling you that you're not taking a class towards your degree, there is that possible opportunity of opening another degree. And you might also find that you thought you were in one degree and you were in another. So that, you know, you can always change your major. You'll work with the registrar's office. And by you running the degree works early, you'll at least know that you're not taking classes instead of waiting until February in the spring term, February, March in the spring term from us. And right now, we're just getting ready to start certifying what's called the TAP awards. So that's when we'll start notifying our TAP recipients if you're not taking classes towards your degree. I'm sure all of you are.
Yeah, I'm so glad Jessica mentioned this letter that you might receive, so that way we can talk about it ahead of time. Because I've seen individuals receive this letter and it says you're not covered by financial aid. You don't have the requirements. And someone reads that and they're like, wow, I can't afford to attend school. So we've had people that just basically stopped coming.
Right.
We didn't know the reason why they stopped coming. It was because they got one of these letters. So you certainly want to bring that letter in when you have your business faculty advisor. That's the person you're going to take that letter to. In the meantime, you'll take it to either Professor Patino or myself if you were to receive that. And then we can think about adding a second major that might allow that course to qualify. And sometimes there's a prerequisite, you know, that we've got the most competent people you can imagine in our financial aid, 20 years of experience. You know, Jessica knows her stuff. But at the same time, it's helpful to have another set of eyes. So sometimes we'll look at something.
The degree audits sometimes do miss things too. Sometimes you could be put in the wrong catalog. It depends on when you started here for the first time. If they updated your degree and you're thinking that you need to follow that degree versus the one you started in, that happens so we can transfer, you know, catalogs. And also, if Mary and Nick are not available, you can stop by the financial aid office. We'll run, you know, we'll try and help you through the process.
Yeah, because when you get one of these letters, it's a very serious thing.
Yeah.
If you say, well, I won't go because I can't really afford to go without this financial aid, the reality is you have registered for these classes, you've taken a seat, you know, in classes that may have sold out, and they will continue to bill you whether or not you've received financial aid. So by all means, continue with your studies, see one of us, and let's see what we can do to straighten that out so that we can keep you on track for your goals.
Yeah.
Any other questions that we might have?
So I got a letter to fill out like a financial aid credit card, so I don't know if I have to do that, like for the financial loan.
Oh, for the student loans from our student accounts office, if you want to do that, that's about your refund. They're doing debit cards now and everything. That's refund, you know, that I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of people come to our office for the refunds. We don't have anything to do with your refund checks. Yes, we award you the aid and everything, but our student accounts office, also known as business office, are the ones that handle the refund. So yes, any information like that, you want to stop by the student accounts office, business office, to double check, do I really need to do this if I'm not interested? Because they still have to offer you a paper check if you choose not to do the credit cards that they're offering now. Yeah, so it's your option.
So we've got a great team here in financial aid, but the checks you're going to pick up on a counter in Warren Hall, right? So when you go into Warren Hall, there's that counter right there after admissions. That's where they're going to disperse the checks.
Yep.
And of course, you want to make sure that you really speak with the financial aid staff, with your advisors here, Nick Patino and myself, because we don't want you owing financial aid. We don't want you receiving partial payment in the semester and then you have another check to come. But meanwhile, because you've stopped going or have withdrawn, now you're not eligible for the aid you received and now you owe the government a check. We don't want to see that sort of thing happen. And so consequently, when you see a withdrawal slip, there's a place where you're looking to have financial aid sign off on that. That is for your benefit, so that you have the counseling.
Our signature's not there anymore.
It's not.
No.
It was there.
No, they did away with it.
Oh, well.
Yeah, but that's why a lot of times the advisors will say recommend see financial aid. I sign below just so that they know that they talked to somebody from financial aid, and I believe Michelle does the same thing. But they used to require every student to come into the financial aid office to withdraw from classes. We had an audit done, a consultant came in, and she was surprised at how many withdrawals we processed in a, sign off in a day. I was seeing anywhere between 100 to 120 students within that first week of class, and that's just me. And literally, that's all I was doing, and they just felt that it was not a good use of my time. To only see the students that really needed to see us, the ones that were going to have financially impacted, and that's why earlier when we were talking about if you withdraw from a class, if it's changing your enrollment, you want to talk to us.
Okay.
Yeah, so they don't see us as much. Complete withdrawals, you have to see me. They won't allow you to withdraw without seeing me. They're not supposed to.
Excellent, always
Yeah.
changing.
Yeah.
Hey, stay there, Mary.
Otherwise, it won't come through on the tape here, Nick, so,
All right, sorry.
for the benefit of those that are not here today. Let's have it.
Jessica, I have a two-part question.
Okay.
I did not apply for financial aid for the fall. Is it too late to do that?
No, it's not. Any student can apply for financial aid at any time. We have some students that wait until April to apply for financial aid for the last fall term. As long as you're still attending, we can award you financial aid. So you can apply at any time. The feds require your student aid report to be in prior to your last date of attendance for us to award. New York State has a June 30th deadline. So you can apply for TAP up until June 30th, 2015. And that's a good question. If you do need help filling out the financial aid form, we do set up appointments to help students fill out that form because it's getting more and more complicated because they did away with the federal PIN number, which was a simple thing you created. Now you have to create what's called a federal student aid ID. For those of you that applied for FAFSA prior to May 10th, you did a PIN number. Anybody that did a FAFSA after May 10th was required to create what's called an FSA user ID. Any of you that have a PIN number, when you reapply for financial aid for next academic year, they're going to require you to do that FSA user ID. Your FSA user ID, you want to make sure you hold on to because it is very hard for the feds to reset that. We cannot help you reset that. You have to call the feds. And I would tell you, in August of this year and in September, we were hearing from families that they couldn't get through to the federal number. On my federal listserv from other colleges, they were talking about it, and it was just because people couldn't remember what their password was. They have challenge questions, and we tell people to be very careful with those challenge questions, write them down, because if you pick what is my favorite color, and you think it's pink today, what happens if you decide 3 weeks later, green is my new favorite color? Then you're confused, and it's hard to reset that user ID and password, so write everything down. That's my big advice to you. And your second part?
Well, just to follow up on what you just said, there might be a few of you here who do not receive financial aid and might be entitled to it. I hope you heard what Jessica just shared with us. It's not too late for you to put an application in to see indeed if retroactively you could get some aid. This is great. Now the TAP and the Pell are outright grants.
Yeah, it's free money.
They do not have to be repaid. The only thing that has to be repaid is your student loans. And Jessica, maybe you mentioned this, but when does the repayment for a student loan
No, I
kick in?
didn't, but that's a good question. 6 months after you graduate or drop below 6 credits is when you have to repay that student loan or stop attending, obviously. So it's 6 months later that you start repaying on those loans, as well as if your parents took out plus loans, they had an option to defer their loans in 6 months after. So as long as you're attending college, if you transfer after here and you're in at least 6 credits, your loans stay in deferment. It's once you complete your education or drop below 6 credits, you start repaying those loans.
And the rates are very competitive.
Yeah,
aren't
it's 4.66% interest rate right now in the federal loans, both sub and unsub. Subsidized is where the government pays the interest for you while you're in school, and schools will always try to give you that first. And then unsubsidized is where you're responsible for the interest. And you do have that option to pay the interest now or later. When you complete what's called your master promissory note, which is your contract to pay back that loan, they'll ask you if you want to have the interest capitalized or pay it later. We tell students that if you're not sure if you can pay that quarterly payment, say capitalized, because you can pay on your loan at any time without penalty.
I have another one for you,
Okay.
Jessica. Would you explain the book credit that students are entitled to, how that works, how it ties in with the FSA, the bookstore? Because we have a lot of students who don't get any books because they don't have the funds.
Right.
And they don't understand this book credit loan process, and I hope you'll be able to explain it to them.
There's two different types. The book credit through the, right straight through the bookstore, or for those students that receive Pell. We do, if your Pell, if your aid, your financial aid, your Pell grants, your TAP, your student loans are more than your bill, then what will happen is our student accounts office will place you on a list over in the bookstore based on how much you're getting back, and based on your number of credits. For instance, the maximum a full-time student can get in book credit is $700. Doesn't mean you have to use that full $700, but that's what you have over in the bookstore to help you purchase your books and your supplies over in our bookstore, Barnes & Noble. We also have, for our student loan borrowers that only have student loans, we have what's called a book credit advance, which is where you come in our office, you complete a form. If your loan happens to be more than your tuition and fees, room and board if you're a housing student, then we can do what's called an advancement on your student loan coming in. Because no aid pays to the college before you attend here, or before you start attending. First-time loan borrowers, student loans don't come until 30 days into the semester, which was last Friday. Returning borrowers, it's getting later, it's about 3 weeks into the term. I will give you a heads up, for the next academic year, 2016-17, we will be doing 2 disbursements, and it's because we're very concerned with the X grades and everything. We don't want you to get aid and then end up having to pay back the federal government because you ended up leaving school or whatnot. So we're trying to help our students with that. Administration made that decision, so financial aid has to do the refunds. And then Pell Grants and TAP typically get paid right around Thanksgiving time. Any refunds, just to emphasize to you, has to be used towards your educational expenses. When you complete the FAFSA application, you're signing saying that you're only using it towards educational expenses. The educational expenses are what I put in, what I told you is the cost of attendance. Tuition, fees, books, supplies, room and board, transportation to and from college. It can't be used to go on a vacation. It can't be used to purchase Christmas gifts and stuff like that. That's what they tell you, pay credit cards off. They want to make sure you know it's to help you use towards your educational expenses. Obviously, you're paying your transportation and your room and board throughout prior to you getting refunds. So yes, you're going to reimburse yourself with that money, just so that you know.
Another question.
Okay.
The scholarship fund.
Mhm.
I know every year a lot of money is never really awarded because nobody makes an application.
Right.
So would you just real quickly summarize when it happens, how it happens, how I can get my hands on an application form, and so on? and
It's
so
what
on.
I talked about earlier, the scholarship, it's called Scholarship Week. It's where you fill out one application for 70+ scholarships. It's on our college website. You do get an email from the Student Affairs Committee letting you know about those scholarships. And then you just simply download the application and turn it into our office. It's typically the end of February, beginning of March. Unfortunately, we don't have those dates yet, just because they're looking at possibly changing the process, how we may be doing things as well in our office.
Do we have any more questions? I thought you had a hand up over here, maybe.
Jessica, one other thing is that there's a limit on how many semesters, right?
Yes.
One can do
Yeah.
Pell,
Yeah.
and so, I know that we have a lot of our students that work very hard, on campus and off campus. Some are juggling full-time jobs and full-time academic programs, and so sometimes, even though you're programmed to get done in a 4-semester run in a 2-year time frame might require you to do 16 or 17 credits each semester. We have a lot of students that are doing 12 so that they can juggle more work
Right.
hours.
Yep.
But there is a limit on how many
Yeah, New York
semesters. So.
State, the TAP award allows you 6 semesters at 2-year school, but 8 in a lifetime. So like Mary said, that's one thing you want to be careful about, is if you know you're going on to that 4-year school. TAP also is based on your tuition. So if you do know you're going to go on to that 4-year school, I always try to tell our students, you want to save those other 4 semesters, even if you're here for an extra semester, for that more costly 4-year school. Pell allows up to 12 semesters, and these are full-time semesters, or up until your first bachelor's degree. So say, for instance, it only takes you 8 semesters to get your bachelor's degree. That's all you get for Pell. Once you get that bachelor's degree, Pell goes away completely. But they are very limited. What you need to be aware of is what they count. When they tell you the semesters, they're telling you full-time semesters. So if you end up attending part-time, it goes by percentage. What the Fed says is for Pell is 600%. You can access how much Pell you received on the Fed's website. It's called National Student Loan Data Services. It stands for, it's NSLDS, just like I said, National Student Loan Data Services, .ed.gov. You can see how much you received in Pell grants. You also can see how much you received in student loans. If any of you are interested in finding that out, we actually have little dandy magnets that a servicer gave me years ago. So we hand those out to give the students away so they have the magnet to help you remember the website. But it helps you keep track of who your servicer is as well on that website. And like I said, it tells you how much you borrowed to date, how much your Pell Grant is to date. The TEP is a little bit harder for you to see. You actually have to come into a financial aid office and we can tell you how much you've received. What New York State does is, for a full-time student, is you get 6 points a semester. 36 points is 6 semesters, so once you get to 36 points, TEP is done. At 2-year school, 48 is the maximum you can get. If you're a student that is recognized under the Americans with Disability Act, it gets a little trickier because they give you points based on your number of credits. And I don't have those all memorized, but it's like 1.5 points for 3 credits. I know that one. And I think it's 3 points for 6 credits. But they break it down based on your number of credits. So if you are recognized under the Americans with Disability Act and you're allowed to attend part-time, you can get still the TAP award as a part-time student.
So it's very important here as you're going through school, if you're going to be on a 12-credit load and take longer than 2 years, that you chat with the people over here in financial aid and let them know what your intentions are, because you'll get more money with TAP at the higher tuition cost school. So you don't want to leave money on the table, so to speak, right?
Exactly, yeah.
One thing I think might be helpful for people to know here, Jessica, is how about aid for part-time work, part-time studies, 6 and 9 credits, if
Yeah,
you would.
6 to 11. Aid for part-time studies is a New York State grant that the New York State gives us. We actually received about $88,000 for the year that we can award to our students. And it's anyone that's registered between 6 to 11 credits. Is there anybody part-time here? Or are you all full-time? Okay. Because we do actually have a lot of money. Right now we have about $50,000 that we're going to be contacting our part-time students saying, we have this fund. Please come do the application. It's anywhere between 6 to 11 credits, at least a 2.0 GPA, New York State taxable income of $30,000 or less. That's combined income. That's based on if your parents claim you on a tax return. That's both you and parents' New York State taxable income. It's after your exemptions and after your standard deductions. Just so that you know, for TAP, to be qualified for that state award, for those of you that aren't sure whether you're going to apply for financial aid, it's a New York State taxable of 80,000, so we tell students your parents could typically make anywhere between 90 to $100,000 depending on how they, whether they itemize, whether they do the standard deduction. You could still possibly get the state grant to tap. If you look at your New York State tax return, it will say taxable income. If it's 80,000 or less, apply for tap. But you do have to complete the federal application first to get the tap.
Ray, one other thing I think is helpful for our students to know is that sometimes as people are sort of spreading their credits out over the summer, right, working full-time jobs or 30 hours a week, sometimes there are 12 credits in the fall and spring, and they might take a couple of classes in the summer. And so I know there's a way they can leave aid on the table to help pay for their summer classes.
Yeah, summer works very funny. You could be awarded out of this academic year's financial aid or the next academic year's financial aid. If you are a full-time student, both fall and spring, then your summer, if you do end up enrolling in summer classes, and it's only for Pell recipients, or if you choose to take out a student loan. And we really don't encourage you to take out a summer student loan because the feds limit you on what you're allowed to borrow for the academic year. So for instance, a first-year student, the maximum you're allowed to borrow is $5,500. Second-year student, $6,500. So say you borrow $1,000 in the summer, that's $1,000 less that you can get for the full academic year. But if you're full-time fall and spring, and you're a Pell recipient, you'll be on the next academic year. We are required by federal law to award you that summer aid. If you decide that you don't want to use it, that you paid for it out of pocket, you can contact our office and decline it because like we told you, you're limited. But here's the other catch, is if you get summer aid, we have to reduce your spring award. So say for instance, you're half-time in the summer, full-time in the spring, and then you're full-time in the spring. We can only give you a half-time award in the spring because you've already used half of your full-time award. Like I try to use the analogy, two holes, that's what you have to come up with. So if you use a half and then one, so 1 1/2, so all you have is a half left equal 2 holes. Okay, but summer could possibly be awarded for this academic year if, out of this academic year, if you are a part-time student. So say for instance, you're a 3/4 time student or a half-time student. That's somebody between 6 to 8 credits or 9 to 11 credits. Then you could possibly get Pell for the summer. But we always tell students when you register for summer, come in our office and we can tell you if there's any aid available.
Jessica, earlier, quite a few students raised their hand and they asked them how many were working.
You might have mentioned this briefly, but can you kind of fill us in on the college work-study program? And
Yep.
how many hours a week you could possibly work on a job that's located right on this campus, and how much do they pay?
Okay, college work studies where you can work up to 8 hours a week. There's 2 separate funds, but you get paid the same rate of pay. It's just based on your FAFSA application. You completing the federal application, whether you're a federal work study student or institutional. It's where the pot of money is being paid. But you can work 8 hours a week. We have, I want to say, probably over 100 positions, 125 positions, because different departments have multiple positions. Like for instance, what we do is we'll notify each division or each supervisor how many hours we can allocate for them based on what we receive from the federal government and the money that we receive from the college to help with our work study program. For instance, I can use the library because I know how many hours they have. I oversee the work study program. They have 64 hours. What they typically will do is try and hire students at 8 hours a clip to try and maximize. So they have 8 positions within their department. I know you have an accounting position, and I think you only have one, if my memory serves me correct. I think they only have 8 hours. So some departments will only have one position, some, the ones where they have longer hours, where they need to have more student workers, they typically is where we give the hours to. Child Care Center has 40 hours, so they have 5 positions within, or no, they have 48 hours. They have 6 positions within their department. And I know that they do hire by 8 hours. You are required, if you work in the Child Care Center, to be a federal work, to receive federal aid, federal work study, not institutional. The rate of pay we pay is $9 an hour if you're a first-time worker, and then if you return to the same job, then we pay you $9.50 an hour, and that's for this academic year. So it's always it's typically increasing every academic year. So you could be $9.50 and then $10 an hour next year. Who knows? I mean, obviously, I don't know our budget for next year yet.
Are there any positions available?
Yeah, there's still positions available. Unfortunately, we're still antiquated. We've just hired a career coordinator who's going to be taking over some of the work site, just so that you know. And they're hoping to be able to start putting the positions online, and then as soon as the department's filled, we'll remove those. Unfortunately, what we do, you come in our office, if you've been awarded work study, you accept it, and you're interested, we'll give you the packet, we give you the full listing of positions, and some of those could be filled already. But yes, there's still jobs. I know.
Anybody already working on a college work study? Were you aware of this? Okay, if you were aware of it, that's great. If not, I hope you found out maybe some value.
And I know it's hard to find because unfortunately we do have students that do return to the same position, so they take up a lot of those jobs. And it is first come, first served, we tell students. And it is based on, what hours you can work as well. I will tell you if there is anybody interested, I know a guy's in testing is looking for somebody right now, because unfortunately they had to let go of their person, so they are looking at hiring somebody. They need somebody Monday through Friday. So if you're interested, if you've been awarded work study, you may want to talk to them.
And they just have to fill out the FAFSA. So
Yep,
even if
fill
they
out the
didn't
FAFSA.
ask for it, they can go back and amend it? Is that
Exactly,
correct?
just come in and tell us that you're interested in the work study.
Okay, terrific. Any other questions? Well, this is a lot of information to digest. We'll have the PowerPoints, right, put up on the
Yes,
website, and the numbers are remarkable. We're really excited that a lot of our students do leave here without the kinds of debts that people leave colleges with and sort of face doing. SUNY, you're probably logged in under you right now, right?
No.
So, oh, it isn't. All right, so just a minute here, if you would. We just have a couple minutes left. I want to bring something to your attention. SUNY, New York, the SUNY system is quite concerned with where students are financially as they're exiting their educational programs, right? With student loan default rates, students wrestling with securing positions that will allow them to service their debt. So they're on an initiative here to help bring financial literacy. So this is a tab that you can get by going to the financial aid office, all right? When you go to admissions tab on our website, then you can go down to financial aid. Under the financial aid office, at the very bottom of the screen, you're going to see a tab here, financial literacy tools. Right? We have that screen up here, and this is what you'll come up to. And it has a variety of different courses. And this was done at the SUNY system after, surveying students, seeing what kinds of issues are involved. So this is a place where you can go for a lot of great information. So there's a whole course here on budgeting, contracts, credit cards, credit history, identity theft, how to prevent identity theft, how to address it if you've been victimized in that way. And then there's a whole course on paying for college. And then in addition to that, and when you go through the course, there's videos and all kinds of information. This has only been up for a couple of weeks, I think. Yeah, we were waiting anxiously for this to get released. So it's relatively new, just released by SUNY, and the financial aid team has placed it right on the website so you can get to it very, very easily. In addition, there are some mini modules here, okay, where you can kind of go into very specific things. As you go into the courses and the mini modules, you'll see at the very bottom where you can look at tools, and there's also articles, relevant articles. So if you went to the identity theft, there'd be some interesting articles that you could link to and pull right up. So the mini modules are a little less involved. But, you know, taxes and you, there's a little vignette there where a gentleman is getting some help with a friend, and they bring up a W-2 and highlight the different sections of the W-2, and sort of walk you through that, all right, so that individuals can get some information. So some of you might say, well, you know, I'm living at home or I'm living in a dorm, not a lot of, you know, variation here in terms of what I'm doing financially. This is a great opportunity for you to take advantage of these tools and go through them over time, so that when you leave this program of study, you have more understanding of the wherewithals, how money works, the rules of the game, so that you can make great choices. It's difficult for someone that exits an education program, goes into the workforce, and all of a sudden they're asked to make decisions about 401k plans and allocating their funds and all these different kinds of things, loans for cars and houses and all that sort of thing. So this is a great opportunity. It's been put together, looks very, very sharp, and I'm going to encourage you to go ahead and access that. I'm going to encourage those that are interested in participating in completing one of the courses, where you will get a certification, and you can go ahead and scan that certification or copy it in an email to me, and you can have extra credit in my course. I think, Nick, we talked about that. Nick feels the same way. We want our students to get this information in terms of financial literacy. So take advantage. There's a nice variety there in terms of courses. They don't take very long, and then submit that and you'll get extra credit. I want to bring one more thing to your attention on the financial literacy thing. There's a program that takes place, guys, if I could have your attention so you don't distract everybody, I appreciate that, okay? So there's a program that's out with the Internal Revenue Service, and it's called Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. It's referred to as the VITA program, and it's here in our community. We have these volunteers on our campus as well. And this is a team where you can go and have one-on-one counseling where they will prepare your tax return, right? And there's also a program there where you can actually do your own, and then, you know, raise your hand and call someone over and get some assistance if you've got some questions related to your own tax returns. So this is a great service to plug into. It doesn't cost anything. So instead of going down to H&R Block or an accounting firm and paying someone to prepare your tax return, plug in and get the benefits of that, and make sure that you're getting everything you're entitled to in terms of your taxes. It's also a great opportunity for you to get involved if you want to participate as a volunteer. They have a training program that you can go through to learn about taxes that will help you, and also that you can go ahead and get that experience sitting down one-on-one with individuals. You don't have to do your volunteer time on this campus. There's a variety of sites, Warrensburg, Hudson Falls, Queensbury, locations where if you feel more comfortable talking with strangers, they can certainly set you up in that regard. That would be a wonderful thing to add to your resume, because that's the kind of experience that people are looking for, where you're sitting down, you're consulting with individuals, you're explaining complicated tax issues, answering questions. So that may be something that an accounting major certainly should strongly consider that. And of course, and maybe you would do that after you've taken your tax course with us. So I'm going to encourage you to plug in, get your taxes done here through the VITA program, tell your friends, and it's a great service here. Nick, did you have anything else you wanted to add here?
No, I thought this was a great session. I hope you picked up some valuable information. I would like you to join me in thanking Jessica. That office has an open door policy. Go on in. There's no bad questions. If you have any questions, you've got to get the answer, and that's the office you go to take care of that vital part of your life. That's who we have around.
And they're a fun bunch. It seems like every time I pop over there, they're having parties and decorating, and they've got a nice, warm group of people that really are dedicated, really care. So you're wise to